Hello everyone, welcome to today's lesson on simple, compound and complex sentences. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to define a phrase and a clause, define a simple, complex and compound sentence. You will be able to combine two simple sentences into a simple or complex or compound sentence. You will be able to transform a simple sentence into a complex or compound sentence, transform a simple sentence into a simple or compound sentence, transform a compound sentence into a simple or complex sentence. Let us begin this lesson with the definition of a sentence. As you all know, a sentence is a group of words which gives complete sense. It is the basic unit of communication. That is to say that we speak in sentences. We convey our ideas, information in the form of sentences, not in individual words or syllables. And what is the purpose of sentences? Sentences constitute our written or spoken discourse. Every discourse contains a variety of sentences. This variety gives variety to the discourse. The sentences have varying lengths and forms, and this variety avoids monotony. They produce better impact on the reader or the audience. This variety of sentences is useful in relating different ideas and in connecting different pieces of information. This topic of simple, compound and complex sentences is dealt in three parts. In part 1, we have a review of the definitions of a phrase, a clause, simple, complex and a compound sentence, and in part 2 we have synthesis of sentences. In part 3 we have transformation of sentences. Part 1, we begin the part 1 with the definition of a phrase. What is a phrase? A phrase is a group of words with a certain meaning in a sentence. That is, a phrase is a part of a sentence and it has certain meaning. For example, built of stone is a phrase with 3 words and it has certainly a meaning. And the second example, without any care is also a phrase with 3 words. To get the first rank is another phrase with 5 words, and these 3 groups of words are called phrases. There are 3 types of phrases. They are noun phrase, adjective phrase and adverb phrase. Now, we will look into some details of these phrases. What is a noun phrase? A noun phrase does the work of a noun. For example, early to rise is good for health. Here, early to rise is used as the subject of the sentence. In fact, always a noun or a noun equivalent is used as the subject of a sentence. Now, what is an adjective phrase? An adjective phrase is a phrase which does the work of an adjective. For example, I saw an elephant with white skin. The phrase with white skin describes the noun elephant. So, it is doing the work of an adjective. What is an adverb phrase? An adverb phrase is a phrase which does the work of an adverb. For example, he fell to the ground. Here, to the ground is an adverb phrase because it is modifying the verb fell. In fact, you can say he fell down, which is an adverb. In place of down, you are using the phrase to the ground. Here, we have a small exercise to identify the type of phrase present in a given sentence. See the first example, Ramu ran with great speed. So, what is the phrase here? With great speed. What type of phrase is this? This is an adverb phrase. Second sentence, he loves to teach English. What is the phrase in this sentence? To teach English. What type of phrase is this? It is a noun phrase. And in the third sentence, Ambani is a man of great wealth. What is the phrase in this sentence? Here the phrase is of great wealth. What type of phrase is this? This is an adjective phrase. Now, we are moving on to the definition of a clause. Let us try to understand what is meant by a clause. A clause is a group of words which has a subject and a finite verb of its own and forms a part of a sentence. Like a phrase, a clause is also a part of a sentence, but the difference is a clause has a subject and a finite verb. For example, she wore a gold chain which was very nice. Here you have two clauses, namely she wore a gold chain and which was very nice. She wore a gold chain is called the main clause, which was very nice is called the subordinate clause. Why? She wore a gold chain, although it is a part of a sentence, it can stand as a complete sentence on its own. So, it is called an independent clause or main clause or principal clause also. But clause 2, which was very nice, cannot stand on its own as a sentence. If you separate this part from the sentence, it looks a little awkward and it is incomplete in giving a meaning. It depends on the clause 1 to make full sense. So, it is called a subordinate clause. So, every sentence is made of clauses. There are different types of clauses. What are they? They are noun clauses, adjective clauses and adverb clauses. Now, we will see some details about these three types of clauses. What is a noun clause? A noun clause does the work of a noun. For example, it acts as the subject or object in a sentence. I knew where I could find him. Here, where I could find him is a clause and it is in the place of the object. Adjective clause. Let us see the definition of adjective clause. An adjective clause is a clause that does the work of an adjective. In the given example, I went to the place where I could find him. Where I could find him is the adjective clause and it is qualifying the noun place. Adverb clause. Now, we are moving on to the next clause, adverb clause. An adverb clause is a clause that does the work of an adverb. The given example, I went where I could find him. Where I could find him is the clause and it is modifying the verb went. Here we have a small exercise to identify the type of clause in the given sentence. The first example, come when you like. What is the clause here? Subordinate clause here, when you like. What type of clause is this? It is an adverb clause. The second example, he says that he met your brother. The subordinate clause is that he met your brother, and this subordinate clause is a noun clause because it is in the place of the object. And in third example, I know the boy who broke the glass. Who broke the glass is the subordinate clause and it is clearly an adjective clause because it is qualifying the noun boy. It is expanding the meaning of the boy. Now, we are moving on to see what are simple, complex and compound sentences, and we begin with the definition of a simple sentence. What is a simple sentence? A sentence with one subject and a finite verb is a simple sentence. For example, the dog barked at the thief. Here we have one subject, the dog, and one finite verb, barked. So, this is a simple sentence. What is a complex sentence? A sentence with one main and at least one subordinate clause is called a complex sentence. That is, every complex sentence must have one main clause and at least one subordinate clause. That means there can be more than one subordinate clauses in a complex sentence. For example, she told a story which was interesting. Here, which was very interesting is the subordinate clause and she told a story is the main clause. What is a compound sentence? A compound sentence is a sentence which consists of two or more main clauses joined by coordinative conjunctions. Example, she told a story and it was interesting. Here, the two clauses, she told a story, it was interesting, are both main clauses because they can stand alone as sentences on their own, and they are just joined by a coordinating conjunction and. And another example, he was poor, but he led a respectable life. In this sentence also you have two main clauses, namely he was poor, he led a respectable life, joined by a coordinating conjunction but. Now, we are moving on to the second part of our lesson, the synthesis of sentences. Now, we will see what is meant by synthesis of sentences, what is the result of synthesizing sentences. Synthesis of sentences is the process of combining two simple sentences into a single sentence, and this single sentence can be a simple sentence, a complex sentence or a compound sentence. For example, I did my homework, I went to college. Here you have two individual sentences, but when we synthesize these two sentences, we have a new sentence as having done my homework, I went to college. This is a simple sentence because here we have only one subject I and a finite verb went, and in the given two sentences, I did my homework has become having done my homework into the form of a phrase. Now, we are going to see how to combine two simple sentences into one simple sentence. Now, there are different methods of synthesizing two simple sentences into one simple sentence. Remember, we are changing into simple sentence only. The first method is by using a participle. As you know, a participle is obtained by adding ing form to the base form of the verb, and you have another participle, namely past participle of the verb. So, here the simple sentence begins with a participle. For example, he saw a snake